on the left, in particular, the populist left, everything is about labor. I mean, all of it. And there's no more clear example of that than what just happened with Southwest Airlines. I mean, to me, yeah. I mean, again, you've got the pure punching bag of the corrupt Democratic establishment, which is Pete Buttigieg. He's made it clear that he is just a complete yes man for the political career that he hopes for.
You definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah,
the Pete Buttigieg thing. Okay.
And so the fact that he was given warnings for months by these crews and these individuals who kept telling him there's going to be a crisis here. Don't know how big, but it's not going to be good. We have an outdated tracking system. We have underpaid, understaffed, and overworked employees, and the shareholders are getting all of the money. Eventually, it's going to break. The question is when. Well, it broke at the worst possible time. And the funniest part of it all is the mindlessness that comes into this whole two-party divide, where there are people who they're not supporters of Pete Buttigieg. They're fans, or in many cases, obsessed fans.
It's so weird.
And they can't hear any criticism of their dear leader. And it's very similar to the way many people conducted themselves when it came to Trump or it came to Hillary. There is this obsession that people take on. And again, when people think about, what happened at Waco, when they think about what has happened in various parts of the country, I still remember Heaven's Gate. I was in 8th grade at the time. And I remember the purple robes and the black Nikes, and they all drank the poison. And you're thinking, well, how the hell does this happen? Well, people gravitate towards certain types of personalities. And in politics, it is the most devastating. But seeing this clear as day, what is the biggest problem in our society today? Corporate special interests control our government and hence control our society. One of the biggest pawns in the whole equation is this Mayo Pete, who just does exactly, literally does exactly as he's told, because he has aspirations of wanting that specific title. How people can't see past that, I don't know, but these catastrophes just get bigger and bigger and bigger. You had what Biden did to the railroad workers. Well, look at what Buttigieg just did to airline travelers. I would say that that's pretty damn serious, and all in the name of corporate greed. Your thoughts?
I could, you hit the nail on the head, and I think that where that stems from is political discourse in this country has been severely handicapped and destroyed. I'll use big adjectives for that, by our political media and by our journalism, because you don't have there. It's so funny when I watch especially cable news, where they talk about the tribalization of America and we're split into these two, followers of one party over the other and things like that. Like what you're describing, where there's just this blind faith that no matter what party leaders do, whether it's Mayo Pete or Donald Trump or DeSantis or whatever, they're always right. They're always right. I have to back my guy. I believe that stems from the fact that we've turned political reporting and political journalism into sports and sports entertainment. They've taken the model of ESPN that you have to root for your home team, do or die, regardless if they're good or bad. And that's it. You got to be a homer, and that's where I think you have that kind of blind faith that no matter what, our side's good, the other side's evil. We can't criticize our side, because then that's somehow giving the other side power, which is ridiculous. And I think that mechanism that media has kind of turned our political debates into, of this kind of ESPN style, get on there, here's the right, here's the left, here's Democrat, here's Republican, here's the topic, you two battle it out and fight. That filters into society. That's what we learn. That's where we learn our political discourse from, is what we see on TV or what we read. And tragically, we're now faced with with what happens when a generation, that's all they get for political discourse, is that's all that they're being fed. This is how you talk politics. This is how you discuss issues. You turn it into a left and right issue, and then you put one side's bad, one side's good. It's very easy. It's very simple. It's not complex. Why? Because we can't make it complex because, man, we're sandwiched in between commercials and we got to cut the break. So let's just talk about the very base level of this on a just, gnat brain style level of very complex issues that affect all of us. But let's turn it into something small and let's turn it into sound bites. And that's where I think that comes from. And that's where I think you have this very bizarre belief system now that if you criticize the party that you most associate with in any way, somehow that empowers the enemy. It doesn't. You have to hold people accountable regardless of what their political party is, even if you are part of that party. That's the only way you get honest government. But instead, right now, as you eloquently laid out, you have just a lot of lemmings who are so. I don't know if 2016 and the Trump thing just so frightened the left to such a degree that's what drove them into this. Because I mean, it feels a lot more like fear-based.
I wouldn't call them the left.
I use that very loosely. I'm just using it as an example.
You would call it the liberal center is what I would call it. But basically, the people who live in the Minneapolis-St. Paul suburbs, those people. But that's who it is. And the thing is that they're the most, because they live a very comfortable life and their status, as you've pointed out before, in society is very important to them, much like an elected official. Yes. Their involvement in politics is so exceedingly higher than the average person. If you were rating it on a scale of 1 to 10, where the average person follows politics at like a 2 or a 3, they're at like an 8 or a 9. Like a lot of their life is kind of wrapped up in it. They'll always vote. And they are, when you talk to them about why they think when I hear people say Joe Biden is the greatest president in like a generation,
who says that? I don't even want to know.
People that are benefiting from this economy as it stands today, where it is basically status quo across the board, especially in light of the pandemic we just went through the past several years. Yeah, to them, he's the greatest that they could have ever hoped for. Who gives a damn about working people? It's not my problem. In their mind, it's always these people who will rationalize this idea that it's very much like the libertarian conservative viewpoint of it's your fault. If you're not succeeding, it's your fault. So I have sympathy and I'll donate to this charity here and there, but at the end of the day, you're on your own. And if you can't figure it out, well, I am not sacrificing this quaint, privileged life that I have. I will do woke gestures to make it seem like I care. But economic populism is the order of the day, and it's coming to this country one way or the other. But as we've often said, if it comes through Bernie, it'll come peacefully. And if it comes through Trump, it's going to come violently. So choose wisely, because you can't drink oil and you can't eat money.
They already chose. And I actually think the thing where people are like having admiration for Biden, I don't even think it has anything to do with them putting any thought into it. I think they're just Team Blue and they're sycophants. And the people that when I see people in the circles down here that are sending out emails praising him on averting a railroad strike and all this stuff, they're not doing it because they're actually sitting there and calculating their life has been better because of Biden. They don't think that. They're just Team Blue and they're sycophants. And I think it's just very tribal, and they're not putting any thought into it at all, because if anybody was putting thought into it, they would realize that it doesn't really matter who's sitting there, which brings us full circle. Either you're in the class of people that does well, or you're in the class of people that does not. And it doesn't matter who's sitting in the Oval Office. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.